That I'm actually recording because we're not taking a quiz today because that quiz is not going to happen until Monday. So to remind you again, Monday quiz, while we have talking things we get to discuss today, we get to talk about my favorite character today and my favorite scene in the entire book today. If you did the reading, you have met my favorite character and you have figured out my favorite, well, you've read my favorite scene, and then we're going to see how well you can guess what my favorite character and scene are. But before we get to that, we have Charger Challenge. So our first Charger Challenge of the year is coming up next week. I'll talk about it and explain it again. I talked about it way back at the beginning of the year with the whole house points thing. And so this is the competition between the Globetrotters, Stars, and Heroes, where each team gets to nominate 15 kids to battle to the death. And so we're going to have our first death battle coming up next Wednesday. And I have invitations. Each time we have a Charger Challenge, you get an automatic invitation if you are Student of the Week, over yonder. If you are Student of the Month, out yonder. If you have highest B points in the class, or we just do random kids who we think would do well in it. But you also get to do it even if you don't get an invitation. Invitation kids just get first dibsies. But oftentimes it goes to kids who have plans on that day and they're not able to do it, so you have a chance of filling in. Or you have a chance of waiting another 5 minutes before I call on you for questions, because I'm probably going to explain a lot of stuff. So I will be handing out your invitation things once I get through and go explain. So one, it is sort of like a mini Olympics with a bunch of different events, and you get to pick the event you feel strongest in. There are events for athletic people, there are events for sporty people, there are events for brainy people, and we sort of mix it up and you sort of get to fill in the spot that you think works best. For those of you who are brainy, there's puzzle solving, where it's like a competitive puzzle solving. There's also ball balloon racing, where you have like a teammate and you have to race other people while holding a ball between you and not dropping it. There's a ball bounce and ricochet, where you have to throw a ball and someone else has to hit it in the air and a third person has to try and catch it. Think of it as like a crazy basketball. There's stationary dodgeball, where you're going to play dodgeball, but you cannot move your feet and you stand about 10 feet away from each other. It's called speed dodgeball. There's also trivia, but it's over pop culture stuff like Marvel movies and TV shows and Stranger Things and stuff like that. And so you have to be able to answer questions from there. You get a chance also, because we add in sometimes random events. So there's also bonus minutes depending on how we change our minds and come up with different things from there. If you have a C or higher in your 4 core classes, me, Menning, Boots, and Math, then you have the opportunity to join us. Even if you don't get invitation today, it just means you have to wait until Monday morning. And then it opens up to everybody Monday morning. And the dibsies kids just get first dibsies. So if you win, here are the things you get. 1, we take your picture with giant trophy. You get a limited edition collector's button. Did I have these up there before? Oh, I did. Here you go. You get 10 B points is the first thing that you're going to get if you win. If you lose, you get nothing because you're a loser. If you win, you get 10 B points that you get added to it. You get your name permanently added up to our school, which I'll show you here in a moment. You get a limited edition button, which I can also show you that only 60 kids get each year, and that is it. You also get bragging rights over all of the other teams because you're better than them. You get to become the background for my laptop, because I take a picture of the winning team and then I make you the background for my laptop so that anytime my screen pops up, you will be there. This is my current background from last year's winning team. I'm hoping to replace it with this year's winning team. It is Travion. One of the events we also add in is this thing called a hula hoop race, where there's like 15 of you and you have to hold hands and you can't break hands. You have to try and move through a hula hoop and you're racing other people while you're doing it. There's the trivia round, where you have to be able to answer questions about Stranger Things and random TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And we get to keep a collection of all of the people who have ever won, and we add your name up to the wall. On the way out to buses, if you look on that long hallway to the left, there is a whole bunch of pictures and these names up there. That is every kid who has won our Charger Challenge going all the way back to 2006. So if you have had a sibling come through who has won the Charger Challenge, their name is up there. You just have to look for the ones, if they were a hero that has the little devil face, the little teddy bear is the one that is the Globetrotters, and then the stars is the stars. That should be pretty straightforward from there. All right. Hi, King.
These aren't battles to the death like you described. Like, I was thinking like gladiator fights or something.
Well,
You said battles to the death. These aren't really battles to the
well,
death.
if you want, I can kill you at the end. I don't want you to be unhappy. All right. So those of you who get invitation, you get first dibsies. There's going to be information on this side that explains more stuff to you. No. And yeah.
Big wheels.
Wheelsy.
And that kid. And that kid.
Let's go, CJ. Let's go, Rohill.
Star Hill.
And that kid. And then to there. And to there. And
No,
then,
it's on Wednesday.
yeah. That's what I thought.
This is why we're on open day.
Oh, I'll trade you this pencil for your invitation.
Somehow I missed yours. I apologize. I was going through. I think it got shuffled around. I'm not going to try to say because I dropped these earlier. I have the one that has your name on it. Well, I mean, I know you got it, but I can't find it, so we'll chalk that up. So if you look on there, you can hold on to this. That is your official invite. You can use it now, second 9 weeks, third 9 weeks, or fourth 9 weeks. It is good for the entire year. Or if you don't want to do it because you think this is a big ball of stupid, you can give it to another kid. And you have the ability to automatically give them a full invite into it. But that means you give up your invite to it. And so you are sacrificing yours to not do it. Those of you who did not get invitation, you have the opportunity to sign up starting 9 a.m. Monday. These kids who have to get the invitation today, you get to start signing up at 4 o'clock today because that's when it officially opens so that all of my classes have a chance. You can either come running down to my room and let me know, you can send me an email after 4 o'clock, or you can send me a remind message. And this weekend I will send out a message letting you know how many spots are still open. Questions from there I've covered? Storks!
Okay, so I was talking to my friend today, and she said something about like transfer to teams if you win.
I'm not talking about that yet, but yes. It depends on what teams win. We can trade kids from one team to another. And so it's the joy of winning. But I wasn't going to get into that yet because it tends to freak kids out.
Sorry, I don't want
Matei!
teams. I like
Right
this
now,
team.
you only put all the students of the month.
Students of the month, students of the week, highest B points, stuff like that. So eventually we'll start adding in other kids and things like that. So the first round is usually just those kids, and then it opens up to everybody come Monday. Now we're good. Matthew.
I'm sorry, did you say they would have to come out to your room to sign up?
At 4 o'clock.
Oh,
Well, on Monday, yes. On Monday at 9 a.m., you can again send me a text, or not a text, a remind, or an email, or just come by my room. Hi, Crawford.
I heard you say this, but I just want to make sure.
Yes, Crawford.
After school, after 4, I can email you to confirm.
Just like it's written on that piece of paper in your hand.
No.
Kelly!
Does anyone here know what their invitation?
No.
I know. If you go on eBay later, maybe you'll find one there. We can only hope. Alright, so we've covered that part. Then let's get to our learning bits for today. So again, for you guys, page 130, which is the end of chapter 8. We're going to go through and talk about 5 and 6 in a moment. Hopefully get a chance to start reading chapter 7. Maybe do a little bit of talking. Let's see, from there, did that one. So this one, I got to talk about, we did that. What did they do with the hydrogen peroxide?
Each other.
Who's your hair?
Who did their hair?
Johnny Boy.
Why does Johnny not?
Johnny,
Nice food on the fact that he has the darker skin. That dude. And Gone with the Wind, they're reading, which is about the Civil War and about the whole being gallant. And then that, and this one here. So the sunset poem, which is where we left off. So we got to the poem and then the bell rang to end it. So let me read poem, and I gotta do an explainy thing because it's going to be really big in the second half of the book. They're gonna keep talking about this poem. It says, nature's first green is gold, her heart is you to hold, her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so even sank to grief, so dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay. Old poem by a guy named Robert Frost. It has two meanings to it. One is really good, one is really depressing, and they're both sort of connected together. To break it down real quick, the Eden. You guys know what the
Garden of Eden.
Nice. Hold on. So what they're saying here is nature's first green is gold, but it's hard to hold on to that green because eventually it disappears when you get wintertime. Early leaf is a flower, springtime, everything is beautiful, but it doesn't last very long, and then everything dies. Leaf subsides to leaf, Eden sank to grief, Eden, this Garden of Eden place with a snake,
Snake
and apples,
apple.
and Adam and Eve, and the fact it was a perfect world, and then it falls down with awfulness. So dawn goes down today. You wake up in the morning and everything is beautiful, and then you get to school and you're like, oh, I hate life.
Yeah.
Nothing gold can stay. What this poem is trying to tell you: everything you love, everything that you find beautiful, everything that you find important in this world is going to die. Everything that is great in your world is going to eventually disappear.
Not the Fortnite.
Nothing
That's like
lasts
so
forever.
lovely.
When you buy your Fortnite Battle Pass, it doesn't last forever. Eventually it becomes the next season, and you go, no! And you flip your computer desk over. That's
Actually, I play on a
the
console.
depressing side of it, is that everything you love dies. The good thing it's trying to say is, when you know you like something, cherish it. When you have a thing in your life that's important to you, think about it and don't just take advantage of it. When you have friends in your life that are important to you, pay attention to them. When you have a teacher you like, enjoy it. When you get to play, when you are leading in Fortnite and you're getting ready to crown and you're getting ready to dance over someone's body, enjoy it, because you may be the one getting danced over next time. So enjoy the little things, because eventually they're going to disappear. This line is going to keep popping up in the story. They're going to keep talking about gold. Gold is a metaphor, meaning it represents other things.
Like,
You guys know what gold represents?
Happiness.
There you go.
Fortnite Battle.
Gold is the things that bring you happiness in life. So whatever it is, like you'll see a lot of memes connected to outsiders will say "Stay Gold Pony," because throughout the book, awful things are going to happen to him. And it's the idea of, can you stay happy when awful things are happening
Stay
all
gold,
around
pony.
you? Can you find a way to stay gold? And gold being innocent, happy,
Well, I
good,
mean, if
and
I
stuff
win
like
like
that.
matches, I'll drop down, back down the silver.
Joey-O!
you go like this, all the way in the corner. In the bottom corner.
Over there. That's too bad.
Oh, yeah, you can have
Works for me. Then, at the end of time of them being at the church, who shows up in the Thunderbird?
Buck.
Dally. That's not Buck. Buck was the one who loaned him it. This is what a Thunderbird looks like, so in case when he says like he takes off driving and goes on two wheels around corners, because apparently Dally's a scary driver, yeah, it was a nice car. It's a little sports car, so that's what Dally pulls up in when he comes to save them. Then where do they go eat?
A place.
Dairy Queen. And this is where we find out heater. Who's carrying a heater now? But what important thing does he tell us about it?
It's not loaded.
And he tells us it's not loaded. Because he's like, I'm not trying to get a murder charge. He's like, I'm not an idiot. But the unloaded gun is good to threaten a whole bunch of socias who pull out knives. And you're like, did you bring knives to a shoot fight? And you go, ha ha ha! And then they run away from you. So that's what you're looking at there. The fact that he's the one that now carries a
I'm gonna
heater.
give that to a 2.
I have updated this. I thought it might make it a little bit easier as opposed to just giving you their names. I went through and looked up like their ages and a little description thing for each one. And so I'll give this to you guys when we get closer to the quiz. Hopefully it makes life a bit easier. Like if you did not know ages and stuff like
I
that.
thought Dally was like.
Derby!
What were we talking about first? Okay, so the heater.
Uh-huh.
What if like
Yes, you can, Felipe.
the socials like don't believe it, or like they still try to fight back, and then he like realizes, oh wait, the gun's not loaded, so what do I do now?
You turn it around and you smack him in the head with it.
You pistol whip
I
him.
don't know.
Well, I'm just saying like what if the worst case
Well,
scenario, and now
let's just hope that doesn't happen, and we should be good.
We can love you.
Put on their neck.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I?
Snaps their neck and.
I can
or
send it
snaps
out on
their
Remind
neck
so you
and
get a high quality picture.
Yeah, no, my picture's better.
Oh, she might have to do it.
Because I'm in it.
Chap.
Ouch, that was a
No,
long
I'm
pause.
in it.
Oh, I wanted to read something to you real quick. So, the book I'm reading to my regular class, Shadow Club, made a reference to The Outsiders as I was reading it today. I'm going to read you the reference real quick.
This is the first time you read this book?
So, no. When I was reading, I got to the scene today. So it's a scene where a whole bunch of these kids are getting together and they're all talking about this weird group of kids where they all are different and they're hanging out together. And it says, you know, said Darren, I never thought this thing would work. I mean, I never thought we'd all actually, you know, like each other. I'll say, said Abby. Look at this group. We've got a jock, a brain, a nerd, a soc, a brat, a lawyer, and the gopher. Who'd have thought we'd all get along? The reference to the outsiders being? And so then I had to explain to my regular kids what a soch was. Like, what's a soch? And I'm like, you mean a sock? And so I had to make that connection for them there. Then, chapter 6, where we introduce my favorite character and favorite scene.
Jerry.
There's Dally's T-Bird again, because they head back. Ooh, I forgot. Who is helping the outsiders now? Why is Cherry helping?
Because
Cherry.
She hates fighting. I would agree. I think she feels a little bit guilty with everything going into it, even though she loves her boyfriend. He was kind of a jerk. And, ooh, what big decision does Johnny make?
Save the kids.
Turn himself in.
Oh, yeah.
Why is he going to turn himself in?
Because he doesn't want to be on the run for so long.
Yeah, he's like, listen, we've been out here for a week and it sucks. He's like, we can't do this forever. And he's like, Pony Boy, you're not going to get in trouble. Little does he know. And so he decides to turn himself in. But where did they leave all their stuff?
In the house that burned up.
So back at the church, and we get back to the church, and there's a surprise. The church is on fire. We get back, and the church is on fire.
That's such a sin.
So this, I agree.
Sorry, that was me.
And so with the church being on fire, how does church get set on fire?
Cigarettes.
We don't know for sure,
Most
but
likely.
yeah, most likely we're going to guess the fact that they had a bunch of cigarettes left out there. Which then brings in our bonus thing. What else is in the church now?
Kids.
And this is where we get
the gun.
into my favorite character.
Homer Simpson.
Jerry.
Sort of like Homer Simpson.
Jerry.
So, and that would be Jerry,
Yes,
I think it's Jerry.
who is the best character in the book. Let me read you why Jerry is my favorite character in the book on page 91. And then I'm going to get to my favorite scene in the book. Says, I bet we started it, I said to Johnny. We must have dropped a lighted cigarette or something. About that time, a lady came running up. Jerry, some of the kids are missing. They're probably around here somewhere. You can't tell with all this excitement where they might be. No, she shook her head. They've been missing for at least a half an hour. I thought they were climbing the hill. Then we all froze. Faintly, just faintly, you could hear someone yelling, and it sounded like it was coming from inside the church. The woman went white. I told him not to play in the church. I told him. She looked like she was going to start screaming, so Jerry shook her. I'll get them, don't worry. And I started at a dead run for the church, and the man caught my arm. I'll get them, you kids stay out. So, here's why Jerry's my favorite. He takes a whole bunch of little kids for a field trip. Where does he take them for a field trip? Not just a church, an old abandoned church. And he's like, come on, kids, field trip time. And he takes a whole bunch of kids to an old abandoned church. Already, we're on a good side. Then we find out that apparently, with this field trip where he's responsible for a bunch of kids, a whole bunch of them have disappeared. Is Jerry worried?
No.
Not even a little bit. She's like, we're missing kids. He's like, we got the important ones. And we're good to go. Then we hear screaming from coming inside the church. And the woman starts to freak out. How does Jerry react? Yeah. He's like, settle down, woman, they're just kids. And then from there, I'm like, oh, best teacher ever. So not only does he just take kids to an abandoned church, he loses those kids, and then he's like, stop freaking out about lost children. They're just kids that are going to burn and get crispy. So everything was great. And I'm like, hashtag teacher goals right there. A man can dream. Kelly,
Are you talking about yourself?
a little bit, yeah. I said a man can dream.
Not the better.
He's kind of boring in the movie.
And then we get to my favorite scene.
Flaming kids.
Yeah.
Actually, Flaming Johnny.
Which goes, no, that's not my favorite scene. Jumping, so now, so I have Jerry tries to follow them. And so this was page 92. Johnny and Ponyboy go into the church to save the little kids, and it gets awesome. Let's go. I'm going to read the bottom of page 91, where it says, I looked around, startled. I hadn't realized Johnny had been right behind me all the way. I took a deep breath and started coughing. The smoke filled my eyes, and they started watering. Is that guy coming? Johnny shook his head. The window stopped him. Too scared? Nah. Johnny gave me a grin. Too fat. Okay. Not my favorite part. Does make me giggle. But that's only because I have a really active imagination. there's an old cartoon called Winnie the Pooh. If you've ever seen Winnie the Pooh, sometimes he goes to visit Owl, and Owl lives inside a tree. And whenever he tries to visit Owl, he jumps into this little hole. And so all I could imagine was when Jerry tried to go in, him jumping in the little window, and Jerry's little feet like kicking out like that. And it just kept making me giggle the entire time. But that was not my favorite part. That was just a part I enjoyed. And then it keeps going, then it gets to my favorite parts. Let's see, where's the kids? I couldn't laugh because I was scared I'd drown in the smoke. The roar and crackling was getting louder, and Johnny shouted the next question. Where's the kids? In the back, I guess, I hollered, and we started stumbling through the church. I should be scared, I thought, with an odd detached feeling. But I'm not. The cinders and embers began falling on us, stinging and smarting like ants. Suddenly, in the red glow and the haze, I remembered wondering what it was like in a burning ember, and I thought, now I know. It's a red heck. Why aren't I scared? We pushed open the door to the back room and found 4 or 5 little kids, about 8 years old or younger, huddled in a corner. One was screaming his head off, and Johnny yelled, "Shut up! We're going to get you out!" The kid looked surprised and quit hollering. I blinked myself. Johnny wasn't behaving at all like his old self. He looked over his shoulder and saw that the door was blocked by flames, then pushed open the window and tossed out the nearest kid. I caught one quick look at his face. It was red-marked from falling embers and sweat-streaked, but he grinned at me. He wasn't scared either. That was the only time I can think of when I saw him without that defeated, suspicious look in his eyes. He looked like he was having the time of his life. I picked up a kid, and he promptly bit me, but I leaned out the window and dropped him as gently as I could, being in a hurry like that. A crowd was there by that time, and Dally was standing there. When he saw me, he screamed, "For Pete's sake, get out of there! That roof's gonna cave in any minute! Forget those blasted kids!" And I didn't pay any attention, right? You seeing a theme? Kids in trouble? Nah, we got better ones. I didn't pay any attention, although pieces of the old roof were crashing down too close for comfort. I snatched up another kid, hoping he didn't bite, and dropped him without waiting to see if he landed okay or not. I was coughing so hard I could hardly stand up, and I wished I'd had time to take off Dally's jacket. It was hot. We dropped the last of the kids out of the front of the church, started to crumble. Johnny shoved me toward the window. "Get out!" I leaped out the window and heard timber crashing and flames roaring behind me. I staggered, almost falling, coughing and sobbing for breath. Then I heard Johnny scream, and as I turned to go back for him, Dally swore at me and clubbed me across the back as hard as he could, and I went down into peaceful darkness. Allow me to explain why this is the greatest scene in the book. So, 1, again, my active imagination. Ponyboy tries to save a kid. What happens when he tries to save a kid?
Kid bites him.
Kid bites him. Here's where my brain goes. I grew up watching cartoons back in the day. And I remember when you watch cartoons, when they would have things like a piranha that would bite the end of a hand, and you would see a person shaking it, and the little piranha or the fish or the end of it shaking it. That's what I imagined with Ponyboy, is like holding his hand and shaking it, and like a little toddler like back and forth. And that made me giggle. And then it gets even better, because how do they save the children? They throw them out windows. Do you understand how many children I would save if all I had to do is throw them out windows? I would be going around saving kids just left and right, just asking kids in the hallway, "Do you feel safe?" "I don't," and I would just chuck a kid. And you would be saved because of me throwing you out windows. And I know your thought is, "But Mr. Brovicast, you can't save kids in here. There's no windows."
Yeah.
And I say that's quitter thinking. If I throw you hard enough, we're going to get a window. And that just means I have to keep going until you feel safe. And so when I read that part of the book, I was excited. I was like, dreams can come true. Someday I can be Jerry, and someday I can save children by just hucking them out windows. So anytime that you come to me and you say you don't feel safe, and you see my eyes get real big and start looking around, understand what's happening.
I don't feel safe.
I don't feel safe.